The battlefield was silent, but it was not the silence of peace. It was the silence after destruction, the kind that carried smoke, blood, and broken steel. The ground was black and burned, and the air smelled of fire and ash all around. Fallen machines and shattered armor lay scattered. Among the ruins, a human walked slowly, his boots crunching over glass and metal. His name was Daniel. He was not a soldier anymore, just a survivor. His clothes were torn, his face covered with dust, and his eyes tired from days without rest. He looked around carefully, searching for anything useful. Water, tools, food, even scraps of wire. Anything that could help him stay alive another day. As he walked, he heard something faint. It was not the crack of fire, not the hiss of cooling metal. It was a voice, soft and weak. A whisper carried by the wind. Daniel froze, his hand reaching for the small knife on his belt. He listened again, and the whisper came once more, broken, trembling, almost impossible to hear. He followed the sound, moving between the bodies and fallen machines, his heart beating faster, and there, in the shadow of a burning ship, he saw her, an alien warrior. She was tall, lying on her back, covered in heavy golden armor, marked with strange glowing lines. Her helmet was cracked, one side broken enough to reveal part of her face, pale silver skin and eyes glowing faintly like stars fading at dawn. Blood stained her lips. She was breathing hard, each breath sounding like a struggle. Daniel stopped, his chest tight. He knew who she was. Everyone in the galaxy knew. She was Princess Kaelira, the battle leader of her empire, the one said to be invincible, the one who had led the armies against humans without fear. Yet now she was broken, her body trembling under the weight of her armor, her hand weakly reaching out, her voice barely more than a whisper. Help me. Daniel's mind raced. He should leave. If her soldiers found him near her, they would kill him without question. She was the enemy, the very reason he had lost everything, his home, his family, his people, but his feet would not move. His eyes stayed locked on hers, eyes full not of hatred but of fear. Her lips moved again, her voice shaking. Remove my armor. Human. The words struck him like thunder. His breath caught in his throat. Did she truly say that? Her armor was sacred. No human was allowed to touch it, even among her people. Only the chosen had permission to handle such things. To remove it was worse than insult. It was almost crime, but her voice came again, softer, weaker, almost broken. My life is in your hands. Daniel felt the weight of her words press on his chest. He looked around the ruined battlefield, the smoke curling like ghosts around them. No one else was there, just him and her, the galaxy's strongest warrior lying helpless before him. He stepped closer slowly, his knife still in his hand, not to attack but to keep steady. He knelt beside her, his hands shaking. He could see the fear in her eyes, but also something else. Trust, thin, fragile, but real. Why me? He whispered without thinking, his voice low. Why trust a human? Her eyes closed for a moment, then opened again, shining faintly. Because no one else will. The silence of the battlefield grew heavier, broken only by the crack of distant fire and the faint sound of her weak breaths. Daniel felt caught between two worlds, the hatred of war and the strange pull of mercy. He knew if he walked away she would die, but if he helped her, he might be hunted forever. His fingers brushed against the side of her armor. The metal was hot and heavy, covered with scratches and burns from battle. He felt the strange energy humming through it. Ancient and powerful, he swallowed hard. For the first time in his life, a human's hands touched the sacred armor of the alien empire. She winced as the lock clicked under his touch. Her breath sharp, but she did not stop him. Her hand weakly gripped his wrist as if to guide him. Daniel looked around once more, the ruins stretching endlessly, the silence pressing in, and he knew one thing clearly: whatever happened next, the galaxy would never be the same. The silence of the battlefield was no longer empty. It now held a secret, a choice and a bond that no war could erase. And so began the moment that would echo through the stars. The moment an alien warrior gave her life into the hands of a human. The ruins burned quietly, sending trails of black smoke into the sky. Daniel sat on the ground beside the alien princess, his hands trembling after touching the locks of her armor, his mind filled with doubt, fear, and confusion. He never thought he would be this close to the most feared warrior in the galaxy, and now she was begging him for something no human should even dare to do. Her voice came again, weak but urgent. Remove it, all of it, please. Her words cut through the silence like a blade. Daniel stared at her, unsure if he had heard correctly. Her armor was more than protection. It was a symbol of her people, a mark of honor. Even to approach it was a crime punishable by death. Yet she asked him, a human scavenger. To strip it away, he shook his head, whispering, if I do this, they'll kill me. His voice cracked, his throat dry, but her glowing eyes locked onto his, her breathing shallow, her lips stained with blood. If you don't, I die now, she answered. Daniel felt his chest tighten. He wanted to walk away, to leave her to her fate. It would be easier, safer. But the way she looked at him froze his steps. It wasn't the look of a commander or a queen of war. It was the look of someone clinging to life. Someone trusting a stranger when no one else would. Her hand, trembling and weak, reached for his wrist. Her touch cold against his skin. I cannot breathe. This armor. It is crushing me, she whispered. The glowing lines on her chest plate flickered like fading stars. Daniel swallowed hard, his knife still in his hand. Not to hurt her, but to pry open the locks. He pressed it gently against a seam. The energy sparks danced across the blade. Nearly burning his fingers, he pulled back in shock. This thing, it's alive, he muttered. Kalira closed her eyes, her voice softer now. It is bound to me, but I cannot release it alone. Only hands without oath can break it. Daniel froze, his mind racing. Did she mean this armor could only be removed by someone outside her people? Someone not sworn to her empire? Was that why she chose him? A human, the enemy. The silence stretched, broken only by her labored breathing. Daniel felt the weight of her words, the impossible request hanging between them. He was nothing compared to her, just a mechanic who had lost everything to war. Yet now her life rested in his hands. He pressed the knife again, carefully this time. Forcing it into the lock, sparks shot out. The sound echoing across the battlefield, she groaned in pain, her body arching slightly as if the armor itself resisted. Stop if it hurts too much, he whispered. But her eyes snapped open, fierce and glowing. No, keep going, she demanded. Even in weakness, her voice carried command. Piece by piece, the locks loosened, the humming energy fading with each click. Daniel's heart pounded, sweat running down his face. He felt like every sound was a signal, calling soldiers to their position. Finally, with one last push, the chest plate cracked open, heavy and glowing. Daniel pulled it free, dropping it onto the burned ground with a thud. The glow dimmed as it left her body, and Kalira gasped, sucking in air like someone saved from drowning. Her chest rose and fell quickly, her silver skin glistening with sweat. Faint scars glowing under the dim light. Daniel froze, staring. She was no longer the untouchable warrior in golden armor. She was just a woman, vulnerable, fragile, beautiful in a way he had never imagined. But the moment was not safe. The battlefield around them still echoed with distant voices, faint steps, soldiers searching. Kalira noticed his fear and whispered, "They will come. They will see." Daniel clenched his fists, his mind racing. If they found him here with her armor stripped, they would call it an insult to her honor. They would kill him instantly, maybe even her. Yet she didn't seem afraid of that now. She only looked at him, eyes burning with something stronger than fear, trust. He leaned close, whispering, "Why trust me? Why a human? We are your enemies." Her lips curved into the faintest of smiles. Though weak, it was filled with truth, because war taught me many things, but in this silence, I see clearly. My people would leave me here, your people would kill me, only you chose to stay. Her words sank deep into his chest, heavier than any armor. Daniel realized she had no one else. Her army gone, her people far, and in this broken place he was all she had left. The request was no longer impossible. It was necessary he moved to unlock more pieces, the armor falling away in chunks, each piece heavy, each piece echoing with the sound of chains breaking. By the time he was done, she lay before him without armor, her body trembling but free, her silver skin marked with glowing scars, her breathing steadier now. She closed her eyes and whispered, "You have done what no one else dared." Daniel stared at her, the enemy princess lying defenseless at his side, and he knew in that moment the war was no longer simple. The impossible request had been answered, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same again. The ruins glowed faintly with dying fire, shadows stretching long across the broken ground. Daniel knelt beside Kalira, the alien princess, her golden armor lying in heavy pieces around them. His hands were raw from forcing the locks. His knife burned black at the edges from energy sparks. Yet his work was far from finished. Kalira's breaths came sharp, her chest rising and falling as if every breath was a battle of its own. Her eyes flickered open, glowing weakly. "There is more," she whispered, her voice faint. The locks. They run deep. The armor binds not just the body, but the spirit. Daniel frowned, staring at the strange plates still clinging to her shoulders and legs. They pulsed with a faint light, almost alive, each piece humming like a trapped heart. If I keep pulling at this, I'll kill you, he muttered. But Kaylira shook her head, her silver hair clinging to her damp face. No. If you stop, it kills me faster. Daniel's hands shook. He was a mechanic, not a healer, not a soldier, just a man who used to fix broken machines. Now he was trying to save the most powerful warrior in the galaxy. Piece by piece, he pushed the knife into another seam. Sparks burst out. The metal screeched as if resisting him. Kaylira arched her back, her body trembling as though fire ran through her veins. Daniel pulled harder, gritting his teeth. Stay with me, he whispered. Don't let go now. The lock cracked. A piece of shoulder armor fell with a thud, the glow fading as it hit the ground. Kaylira gasped, air rushing into her lungs, her hand clutching at the earth. Good. Keep going, she urged weakly. Daniel worked faster, sweat dripping from his forehead, every lock louder than the last, every spark brighter, as though the armor itself fought to stay in place. He cursed under his breath, his muscles aching. His palms raw, one by one, the plates came off, crashing into the dirt like fallen chains. Kaylira's body shook with each release, sometimes crying out in pain, sometimes sighing in relief. Her silver skin beneath shimmered faintly under the smoke-filled light, glowing scars crisscrossing her body like old battle stories. When Daniel reached her arm plates, the locks hissed and burned, nearly searing his skin. He yanked back, shaking his hand. It doesn't want me to touch this one, he muttered, but Kaylira's eyes locked on him, sharp even in weakness. It fears you, she said softly, because you are breaking what was meant never to break. Her words sent a chill down his spine. He had never thought of armor as something that could feel fear, yet as he pushed again, the energy sparks danced violently, almost like claws trying to cut him away. Still he pressed, his jaw tight, until at last, the lock cracked and the plate tumbled off. Kaylira cried out, her voice echoing through the ruins. But when it faded, she breathed easier, her chest no longer as tight, her glowing eyes softening. You are not like them, she whispered. Not like my people. Not like yours either. Daniel froze at her words, looking down at her, stripped of most of her golden armor, lying half-broken but alive, her strength hidden yet her vulnerability shining clear. He realized she was right. He wasn't like the others, because against every rule of war, every reason to hate, he chose to stay. But the danger around them had not vanished. The battlefield groaned with shifting metal. Distant voices echoed in the smoky air. Soldiers moving closer, Daniel stiffened, his ears sharp. Kaylira noticed too, her hand weakly gripping his wrist. If they find us like this, they will kill you, they will kill me, she whispered. Daniel looked at the scattered armor, glowing faintly in the dirt. A crime to her people, a treasure to others, and he realized anyone who saw this would understand nothing of mercy. They would only see betrayal. Still he kept working, pulling away the final locks on her legs, her body trembling with each pull, his arms aching from the effort, until at last the last piece fell. A heavy crash echoing into the silence, Kaylira lay free, stripped of the armor that had made her untouchable, her silver skin pale under the dim firelight, her breaths now steady but weak, her eyes closed as if finally resting. Daniel sat back, his chest heaving. Staring at the pile of broken golden plates, he whispered to himself, "It's done," though the words felt heavy, not like victory but like stepping into something far bigger than himself. Kaylira opened her eyes again, locking onto his. Her lips curved in the faintest smile. "No human has ever done this," she said, her voice trembling. "You broke my armor, but more than that, you broke the chains of fear." Her words lingered in the smoky air, and Daniel knew she was right. The moment was bigger than both of them. The galaxy's strongest warrior was now lying unarmored in a human's care, and that truth would burn brighter than any war. The armor was broken, but in breaking it, something new had been forged. Trust, fragile but unshakable, and the battlefield silence no longer belonged to death. It belonged to them. The silence of the battlefield did not last. Faint footsteps echoed in the distance, voices carried through the smoke, harsh alien tones barking orders. Daniel froze, his heart thudding in his chest. He looked at Kaylira lying weak and pale without her golden armor, her silver skin glowing faintly in the firelight. She was free of the armor's weight, but without it she was more vulnerable than ever. Kaylira's eyes opened slowly, her breath unsteady. She listened, and a shadow of fear passed across her face. "They are close," she whispered, her voice low. "My people. Soldiers, they will find us." Daniel swallowed hard, his mind racing. If her people found them like this, the sight would be unforgivable. Their princess stripped of armor, lying in the hands of a human, they would kill him instantly, and perhaps even kill her for shame. He grabbed her hand, his voice urgent. "We have to move." "Can you walk?" Kalira tried to push herself up, her arms trembling, but her legs gave way beneath her. She collapsed back onto the blackened ground, her face tightening with pain. "No, not yet," she whispered. "I cannot." The voices grew louder, the crunch of boots over glass and metal closer. Daniel's eyes darted across the ruins, searching for cover. He spotted a broken wall, half standing, shadows behind it deep enough to hide. He pulled her gently, lifting her into his arms. She was heavier than he expected, not because of size, but because of weakness. Her body trembling against his chest, he carried her quickly, every step sending sparks of pain into his tired muscles. He pressed his back to the wall, lowering her carefully to the ground. The soldiers appeared in the distance, their tall figures glowing faintly under the smoke. Their armor intact, their weapons shining. Daniel held his breath, peering through the crack in the wall. He could see their faces. Hard, cold, loyal. One soldier stopped, kneeling by a shattered piece of golden armor on the ground, his voice sharp. "Her armor. It's here." Another soldier joined, picking up a piece. "It has been broken." The words echoed with disbelief. Their voices carried the weight of outrage. Kalira's eyes widened, her body tensed. "They will know," she whispered, her voice shaking. "They will know someone touched it." Daniel clenched his fists. He knew this was no longer just about survival. This was about something sacred, something forbidden. He looked at her, whispering, "If they find us, what will they do?" Kalira's voice trembled. "They will kill you and silence me." The soldiers spread out, their steps crunching closer. Searching between the ruins, one lifted his weapon. Scanning the ground, another shouted, "She cannot be far." Their voices sharp with urgency. Daniel pressed himself tighter against the wall, his arm instinctively wrapping around Kalira. Shielding her, she leaned weakly against him, her silver hair brushing his shoulder, her breathing shallow but steady. One soldier's boots crunched dangerously close. Daniel could see the shadow fall across the wall. His grip on the knife tightened, though he knew it would be useless against their weapons. His heart raced. Kalira's hand gripped his wrist weakly, her glowing eyes looking at him, silently begging him not to move. The soldier stopped just a step away, scanning the ground, his eyes narrowing at the marks where Daniel had dragged Kalira. Daniel's chest tightened, sweat beading at his brow. Kalira closed her eyes as if preparing for the end. Then a shout came from the distance, "Over here!" More armor pieces. The soldier turned. His steps moving away, Daniel exhaled silently, his heart pounding like a drum. Kalira opened her eyes slowly, her lips trembling. "We cannot stay," she whispered. Daniel nodded, but his voice was hard. "You can't walk, and I won't leave you." She looked at him, her eyes shimmering. Why risk your life for me?" Her words almost a plea. Daniel shook his head, whispering, "Because you asked me." And I answered, her lips parted, as if she wanted to say more, but the voices grew louder again, soldiers moving in a wide circle. They were closing the trap. Daniel knew the wall would not protect them much longer. He lifted her again, her body trembling but light in his arms. He moved silently through the ruins, every step careful, his ears sharp. The soldiers searched, tightening around them. Kalira pressed her head weakly against his chest, whispering, "If they see us, they will call me traitor." Daniel's voice was low, steady despite the fear in his heart. "Then let them. But you're not dying here." They slipped into the shadow of a broken machine, its metal shell cracked but large enough to hide them. Daniel lowered her gently, crouching low. His eyes watching the patrols pass, Kalira looked at him, her voice faint but filled with something new. "You protect me. Like one of your own." Daniel met her gaze, whispering, "Maybe you are my own now." The soldiers passed, but their voices carried promises of danger. "We will find her, no matter where she hides," one declared, his tone sharp. The others answered in agreement. Kalira closed her eyes, her breath slowing, her hand resting weakly over Daniel's. "You should not be here." "Yet you are," she whispered. Daniel looked down at her, his jaw tight. "I'm here because you're alive, and as long as you're alive, so am I." The soldiers moved further away, their footsteps fading. But Daniel knew they would return. The hunt was not over. It was only beginning. The silence returned, but it was not safe silence. It was the silence of hunters circling their prey, and Daniel realized the truth. Enemies were closing in. Time was running out, but he would not let her fall. Not here, not like this. The battlefield stretched endlessly behind them, smoke rising into the night sky like black rivers. Daniel's arms ached from carrying Kailira. His legs heavy, but he did not stop. The sound of soldiers searching pushed him forward. Every step a race against death. Kailira lay weak in his arms, her head resting lightly against his chest, her eyes half closed, her voice a faint whisper. "You should not do this." Daniel's jaw tightened, his breath rough. "Maybe not. But I will." He moved through broken walls and twisted machines, his mind searching for a place to hide, a place where the soldiers could not find them. Then he remembered in the days before the war, workers had built tunnels under the ruins, storage places half forgotten. Some collapsed, but some still standing. He shifted his path, moving toward a collapsed structure, weeds and ash covering the ground. To anyone else, it looked like nothing but rubble, but Daniel knew there was a way inside. He kicked aside debris, revealing a half-buried hatch, rusted but still strong. With effort, he pulled it open, the metal groaning. The sound too loud in the silence, he winced, praying no soldier had heard. Quickly, he lowered Kailira down into the darkness, then followed, closing the hatch above them. The world outside disappeared. The voices of soldiers muffled inside was dark, cold, damp. The air smelled of rust and old earth. Daniel lit a small light from his pack, its glow filling the narrow tunnel. Broken crates and metal pipes lined the walls. The place looked forgotten, but it was shelter. Kailira's eyes fluttered open, the glow of the light reflecting in her silver pupils. "Where are we?" she asked weakly. Her voice thin. "A shelter," Daniel whispered, placing her gently against the wall. "Old worker tunnels, they won't find us here." Not quickly, Kailira leaned back, her breathing still uneven, her silver skin glowing faintly, her body covered in scars now visible without the golden armor. Daniel sat close, pulling bandages and a small flask of water from his pack. He poured carefully against her wounds, cleaning away the blood. She flinched at the touch but said nothing. "You're hurt worse than I thought," Daniel muttered, his voice low. Kailira's lips curved faintly. "I was hurt long before you found me." He paused, his eyes meeting hers. "Then why fight? Why wear that armor if it was killing you?" She looked away, her face hard in the dim light. "Because it was not mine to refuse. It was my duty." Her voice cracked, a hint of pain deeper than wounds. Daniel tightened the bandage around her arm, his hands steady despite the ache. "And now, you gave that duty up." Kailira's eyes closed for a moment, then opened slowly, her gaze softening. "No. You broke it for me." The silence between them was heavy, filled only by the drip of water from rusted pipes. Daniel leaned back, his light flickering across the tunnel walls. "You know, if they find us, I'll die before I can explain," he said quietly. Kailira looked at him, her glowing eyes searching his face. "Then why stay?" He met her gaze, his voice steady. "Because leaving you here would make me less human." Her lips trembled, but no words came. Instead, she reached out, her weak hand resting on his, the contact light but real. "No one has ever touched me without fear," she whispered. "Yet you did," Daniel swallowed, his throat tight. "Maybe I should fear you," he said softly. "But I don't." The tunnel shook faintly, dust falling from the ceiling, voices echoed faintly above, soldiers passing over the ruins, searching. Kailira's body stiffened, her eyes wide with alarm. Daniel placed a finger gently to her lips, whispering, "Quiet. They don't know we're here." The voices faded, the silence returning. Kailira relaxed slowly, her hand slipping from his, her head tilting back against the wall. "If they find me like this, they will call me weak," she whispered. Daniel shook his head, his voice low. "No, they'll call you alive, and alive is better than dead." Kailira's eyes glowed faintly in the dim light, reflecting something new. Not command, not pride, but trust. She studied him carefully. "You are strange. Human," she said softly. "Strange. And kind." Daniel gave a tired smile, his eyes scanning the darkness around them. "Kindness doesn't win wars," he muttered. Kailira's lips curved faintly. "No. But it wins hearts." The words lingered between them. Echoing louder than the silence, Daniel looked at her. Her body broken but her spirit unyielding, and he felt the weight of something greater than survival. Outside, the war raged on. Soldiers hunted, machines burned. But inside the hidden tunnel, a different battle began. One of trust, of loyalty, of fragile hope. Daniel leaned back against the cold wall, his knife resting beside him, his light flickering low. Kalira's breathing slowed, her eyes closing as exhaustion finally claimed her. He watched her quietly, knowing this moment was only a pause, not an end. The secret shelter held them safe for now. But Daniel knew the storm outside would not rest. Enemies would return, the hunt would continue. And when it did, their choices would matter more than ever. For now in the darkness, only one truth remained clear. The galaxy's strongest warrior was alive. Because one human had refused to walk away. The shelter was quiet, but the quiet was heavy. Daniel sat against the cold wall, his knife resting by his side, his eyes watching the flicker of his small light. Kalira lay across from him, her silver skin glowing faintly in the shadows, her breathing steadier now but still weak. For a while neither spoke, the silence carrying the weight of everything that had happened. Then Kalira opened her eyes, her voice soft but clear. "You are not a soldier." Daniel looked at her, his brow furrowed. "Not anymore," he said, his voice low. "I was a mechanic. I fixed machines, engines, power lines. Nothing like this." Kalira's gaze lingered on him. "Then why fight in a war not yours?" Daniel's chest tightened, his jaw firm. "Because the war came to me anyway." His voice carried a shadow of pain. "My home burned, my family lost. I didn't choose the fight, it chose me." Kalira lowered her eyes, guilt flickering across her face. "My empire did this," she whispered. "I led armies that destroyed. I gave commands that ended lives." Her voice broke for a moment. "Including yours." Daniel stared at her, the silence stretching, his breath rough. Then he shook his head slowly. "Maybe, but you're not the same now," he said. "Out there you were a commander, here you're just someone trying to live." Her glowing eyes met his, shimmering with something fragile. "And you are someone who should hate me," she whispered. "Yet you carry me." Daniel gave a tired smile, though it held no joy. "Hate is heavy," he said quietly. "I've carried enough already." The silence was broken by a sound above. Heavy boots, voices echoing through the ruins. Kalira stiffened, her hand gripping the floor weakly. Daniel pressed a finger to his lips, listening. The soldiers were close, too close. Then a sudden voice boomed from above, strong, commanding. "We know you are here." "Princess," the tone sharp with authority. "Come out, show yourself, and face your people with honor." Kalira's eyes widened, her breath catching. Daniel looked at her, whispering, "They know." She shook her head, fear flashing across her face. "No. They only guess, but if I go, they will see. They will call me traitor." The voice grew harsher, echoing through the tunnel walls. "If you resist, we will burn every ruin until you are ash. Surrender and prove your loyalty." Daniel's jaw tightened, his hand gripping the knife. He turned to Kalira, his voice steady but low. "You don't have to go." Kalira shook her head slowly, her voice trembling. "If I stay here, they will destroy everything, innocent lives caught in the fire. And if I go with you by my side, they will kill you without question." The choice weighed on her like stone. She closed her eyes, whispering, "I must decide. Loyalty to them, or to you." Daniel leaned closer, his eyes locked on hers. "Loyalty isn't about oaths," he said softly. "It's about truth, and the truth is they left you to die." "I didn't." Her breath caught, her chest rising quickly, her glowing eyes searching his face. "You would risk everything, even death for me?" she asked. Daniel nodded, no hesitation in his eyes. "Yes." Tears shimmered faintly in her silver eyes. "The first cracks in the mask of a commander," she whispered. "You are a human, yet more loyal than all my soldiers." The boots above grew louder. Dust fell from the ceiling as the soldiers moved closer, torches glowing faintly through cracks in the rubble. Kalira's hand trembled as she reached for Daniel's, her voice soft but firm. "Then I choose." Daniel's heart pounded, waiting. Kalira's glowing eyes burned with fire again, not of command, but of resolve. "I choose you," she whispered, "and if they call it betrayal, then let them." Her words cut through the air like thunder. Daniel's chest tightened, the weight of what she had said sinking deep. She had chosen him, a human scavenger, over her empire, over her people, over everything she had ever sworn to. The ground shook as the soldiers began breaking through the ruins above. Daniel pulled her close, his voice urgent. Then we need to run. Now, Kalira nodded, her strength weak but her will unbroken. She leaned on him as he lifted her once more, her body trembling but her eyes fierce. Together they moved deeper into the tunnels, the light flickering, the sound of stone and metal crashing behind them, voices shouting, weapons striking, the hunt closing in as they ran. Kalira whispered against his ear, her voice steady despite the fear. If I survive this, if we survive this, the galaxy will never forgive me. Daniel's jaw tightened, his voice rough but unshakable. Then let the galaxy hate. As long as you live, the tunnel ahead opened into darkness. Deeper, unknown, but it was escape. Daniel carried her forward, every step echoing with their choice. Behind them, soldiers shouted her name with rage. But Kalira did not look back, her loyalty no longer theirs. In the silence of the secret shelter, broken by the storm of footsteps chasing, a new bond was forged, one no empire could control, one the galaxy itself would soon remember. For in that moment, Kalira, princess of an empire, warrior of countless battles, had chosen loyalty not to crown, not to duty, not to war, but to one human. The tunnels shook with each crash above, stone and metal falling as soldiers broke through the ruins, their voices sharp, their weapons glowing in the darkness. Daniel carried Kalira deeper, his arms aching, his breath heavy, but he refused to stop. Kalira leaned weakly against him, her glowing eyes fierce despite her pain. They will not stop, Daniel, she whispered. They will chase until the end. They will not forgive. Daniel gritted his teeth, his voice steady. Then we won't let them catch us, but the tunnel ended suddenly. A collapsed wall of stone and steel blocking their way. Daniel stopped, his chest heaving, his eyes scanning desperately. There was no path forward, only ruin. And behind them, the soldiers' voices grew louder, closer. Kalira's hand gripped his arm, her voice low. Put me down. Daniel looked at her in shock. What? No. I'm not leaving you. Kalira's eyes burned with determination. Not leaving. Standing, if I die running, they will call me weak, but if I stand now, they will see. Daniel hesitated, his heart torn. But he lowered her gently onto her feet, her legs trembling, her body fragile without the golden armor. Yet she straightened, holding herself tall, her silver skin glowing faintly in the dim light, her scars shining like marks of truth. The soldiers burst through the tunnel, weapons raised, their torches flooding the shadows. They froze at the sight before them, their princess standing without armor, a human at her side, their voices erupted with outrage. Traitor, one shouted. Shame, cried another. The commander stepped forward, his armor glowing, his voice booming with authority. Princess Kalira, surrender this instant, return to us, and the human will die quickly. Defy us, and both of you will be erased. Kalira's legs trembled, her chest heaving, but her voice rose clear and strong, echoing through the tunnel. This human saved me, she declared, her words cutting the silence. When you left me to die, he carried me. When my armor crushed me, he freed me. When death closed in, he stayed. The soldiers faltered, murmurs rippling through their ranks. Some lowered their weapons in shock. Others raised them higher in anger. The commander's voice thundered again. He is the enemy. Your words are lies born of weakness. Kalira stepped forward. Her body swaying, Daniel reached to steady her. But she lifted her hand, stopping him. Her glowing eyes locked on her soldiers. Look at me, she shouted. Do I wear the armor you worship? No. Do I carry the weapons of power? No, I stand here alive only because of him. A human. The tunnel shook with silence, her words heavier than stone. Daniel's breath caught, his chest tight. He had never seen anyone stand so tall while broken. Kalira lifted her hand, pointing at Daniel, her voice fierce. If you kill him, you kill me too, for my life is bound to his now. The soldiers gasped, their eyes wide, whispers spreading. Bound to a human, some muttered. Impossible. Others hissed. The commander's face twisted in rage. You shame the empire, he growled. His weapon raised, but Kalira did not flinch. Her voice rang out strong and clear. No, it is you who shame it, leaving your princess to die, calling it honor, calling it loyalty. But honor is not abandoning. Loyalty is not silence. This human showed me truth, and I will not betray it. Her words cracked like thunder echoing through the tunnel, and for a moment even the commander froze. Daniel stood beside her, his knife small compared to their glowing weapons, but his stance unshakable, his voice low but firm. If you want her, you go through me. The soldiers shifted, torn between rage and awe, none daring to move first. The silence stretched until it became unbearable. Then Kalira lifted her head high, her silver hair falling across her glowing scars, her final words echoing like fire. "Today I choose," she declared, her voice shaking the air. "I choose him, the human who held my life when no one else would. And if the galaxy calls it betrayal, then let it, but remember this moment, remember it forever. For today begins not fear, not silence, but rebellion." Her words blazed through the tunnel, striking every soldier's heart. Some lowered their weapons. Unable to meet her gaze, others turned away in shame. Even the commander hesitated, his hand trembling before he slowly dropped his blade. The silence that followed was heavier than war, heavier than death. It was the silence of history being made. Daniel looked at Kalira, her body trembling, her breath ragged, but her eyes blazing with fire. He knew she was right. This moment would never be forgotten, for the galaxy had seen something no war could erase. An alien princess stripped of her golden armor, standing unbroken beside a human, choosing trust over fear. Life over duty, heart over empire, and the universe itself seemed to hold its breath. Because in that single choice, the galaxy changed forever.